Welcome back, everybody. It's Adam from Two for Joy. My instant match reaction to Newcastle's 1-0 defeat at the Emirates. And I'll start off, we'll go through the game and then we'll have a talk about the problems at the club, the problems with the manager, this lineup, the setup, all the things we've been struggling with for the last 6 months. And I'll be quite honest, let's start with the game. I thought we'd come out. I thought that the changes to the lineup were extreme, to be honest. There's a few players that I thought were notable to bring in. Obviously, us having Bruno Sandro and either Joe Willock or Jacob Ramsey in that middle, I thought would give us a bit more stability, especially playing away against Arsenal. I was hoping to see maybe Voltemada start up front, which wasn't the case. And then obviously the changes at the back, which I think were the big things. Nick Pope coming back in goal. I don't know whether there's an injury or Aaron Ramsdale's not well, but obviously I'm not a big fan of Nick Pope coming back in. And then obviously Dan Burn playing left back. And I think this is a key issue for Newcastle. Every time we see Dan Burn play left back and he plays up against anybody who's got any pace or tactical prowess to be able to get in behind, it ends up causing Newcastle problems. And I do feel like we just get stretched all too often. But 3 minutes in, obviously we push forward. Will Asula getting through from a great pass from Joe Willock. And he just touches that ball with his right foot before he swings that left peg. And sure enough, swipes wildly at it and misses the ball and ends up on the floor. It's, he is Captain Chaos. He is that guy. 1 week he'll do the most amazing thing, and the next week, he just looks like he's not ready for it. But 9 minutes in, and Eze bangs one top corner, and I'll be honest, when I'm watching it, 3 times, 3 corners, 3 routines, almost exactly the same, and Newcastle bench don't pick up on it. The defence don't pick up on it. The ball gets pushed out to the 18-yard box and Eze's got so much time and space to hit this ball. And realistically, Nick Pope's nowhere near it, and I don't expect him to be. But they've studied the way that we defend corners. They've studied the fact that Eddie Howe has put the biggest lads we have in that back line, and we've just left that midfield completely exposed. So 9 minutes in, 1-0 down. And to be honest, I kind of expected it with the run that we've had and the run that Arsenal are on. I did feel there were a few, shall we say, soft decisions. Sam Barrett, I felt, got played by the occasion today. Will Asula got cleaned out 31 minutes in on the edge of the box, and the ball drops to Joe Willock, who manages to get a shot off, but it goes wide, and he gets cleaned out as well. And I felt like Sam Barrett, the Premier League, I'm not trying to say there's, some big conspiracy. They want Manchester City and Arsenal to battle it out to the end of the season. I watch Gabriel nearly every time I watch an Arsenal game. Gabriel, he's the biggest, the strongest, the most combative defender. But I tell you what, if you put a hand on his shoulder, that guy hits the ground quicker than any defender in the league. It is the Arsenal way. And I know Arsenal fans will turn around and say, people give them a bad rap. But I'll be honest, that Arsenal team is terrible. And I think Arsenal made us look better today by how shit they were, to be quite honest. I thought we were marginally better. I thought the performance was marginally better than what we've seen over the past few weeks. I think there were some key standouts in Bruno, Sandro. I thought they both played really well. I thought Malik Chow today, defensively, Malik Chow going forward, maybe not, but Malik Chow defensively, I thought was fantastic today. I genuinely thought he had one of the best games that I've seen him. The amount of times he covered for us, he was the defensive stalwart, to be fair. And then, obviously, the second half, you're fully expecting Arsenal to come out, take control of this game and put it to bed. And I felt like Newcastle, we did really well to have as much possession as we did. We did really well to have as many shots as we did. We looked more combative, but I don't like the fact that Lewis Hall is dropped after one game and one mistake. And I'll be quite honest, Eddie Howe's tactics are lacking everywhere. And I'm a firm believer that he needs to go. I don't think that will be the case. I don't think the ownership will look at it like that. But I do believe these press conferences are getting wilder and wilder. And every time Eddie comes out and says, you know, I take responsibility, it's my fault, you know, I defend my players, this, that, and the other. He then goes on to finish those press conferences by saying players aren't training hard enough, they're not putting in the effort, too many defensive mistakes, too many individual errors. It's always, I'll take the blame, but let me tell you whose fault it was. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard from a manager. And I genuinely think he's losing his way as this season goes on. And the more he speaks to the press, but the press, obviously, they just stick with it. They love him. But second half, the highlight of the second half for me was Dan Burn calling Gyökeres a fucking diver. That made it for me, honestly. But Barnes and Wissa coming on the 65th minute. Will Asula coming off. Jacob Murphy coming off. Jacob Murphy I felt was terrible today. And the same thing. Will Asula, I really want to see this kid play right wing. I think Murphy's putting in shit performances nearly every week. I think Anthony Elanga, when he came on, was absolutely dreadful. We give the ball away in his first touch and a turnover of possession left us on a counter-attack. But Will Asula, he's got the desire, he's got the effort, and he puts in a shift every game. Now, he may not be the finished article. He may not be ready for it, but I genuinely believe Will Asula should be playing out on the right wing. But Barnes, again, almost a ghost in this game. I don't really feel he offered us that much. Wissa, when Voltemade comes on and flicks that ball through, and again, I've got an issue with the swap of Bruno and Voltemade, but when Voltemade puts that ball through for Johan Wissa and Wissa skies it over the bar, I'll be quite honest. Callum Wilson scored his 6th goal in the Premier League today. Callum Wilson, we let go on a free, and Callum Wilson would have finished that chance. Now, I know Callum Wilson, he had all his injury problems. He didn't start a lot of games. He played minimal minutes. That's Johan Wissa. And we paid 55 million quid for him. I'll be quite honest, we'd be better off keeping Callum Wilson this season, who's got a better goal return for the minutes he's played, than playing Wissa, who seems to just be a donkey. And I don't know how at this point of the season he is not fit enough to chase back. I watched him chase back Saliba at 80 minutes and he couldn't keep up with Saliba, who's played a 75 minutes more of this game than he has. And he just looks absolutely wayward from where he should be. But we'll go on. Nick Voltemade coming on for Bruno. Now, I felt like Bruno was probably the most creative spark. It's great to see Bruno back. He's what offers us so much in this team. He is the creative flair of this team. And realistically, without Bruno, we suffer. But when he takes Bruno off and puts Voltemade on, he's almost trying to do a like-for-like swap for creativity. The fact that this team lacks so much creativity suggests that Voltemade should be playing as a 10 with a Tonali and a Bruno behind him, or even leave Tonali sitting as a 6 and play Bruno and Voltemade in behind with a striker. Now, whether that's Will Asula, whether that's Johan Wissa, whether you want to play 2 up top and change to a 4-4-2, something has to change. We are literally repeating the same cycle and expecting different results. And Eddie must know this. It's infuriating to watch. Realistically, I think for me, he's gone. I don't think he'll rekindle this. I don't think he's the right man for the summer rebuild. I don't think there's a chance that Eddie Howe spends money wisely this summer. And the question on players who aren't willing to play being dropped. I think Anthony Gordon is making this decision for Eddie. I don't think Anthony Gordon is injured. Personally, in my opinion, I don't think Anthony Gordon is injured at all. I think Anthony Gordon is making sure he's fit to play in the World Cup. And I think everybody's well aware that Anthony Gordon has wanted to move away from Newcastle ever since there was interest from Liverpool. And he believes that he is that top tier, that elite player. He is not. He is not that player. And I genuinely believe that we have possibly 5 or 6 players in this squad that are worth keeping. Obviously, going into this summer window, we're going to struggle. And I keep hearing the media narrative of be careful what you wish for, be careful what you wish for when it comes to changing a manager. But Bournemouth changed the manager, ended up further up the table than they were previously. Brighton have changed the manager 3 times in 3 successive seasons and ended up higher up the table than they were previously. Brentford, Thomas Frank went. They've got Keith Andrews. They're right up the table. This is not about the quality of the squad that you have. It's about the desire, the system, and the tactics that you play. And I genuinely believe the tactics and the system that Eddie Howe is playing is what's letting us down. And I think we all know that. It's all there. It's plain to see. We'll wait and see when the summer comes. I will make this a short one, but we'll wait and see when the summer comes what PIF do. They say they're going to have this big meeting where they review, and the heads of PIF are coming over to talk to Eddie, and they'll plan and strategize for the summer. It's the same meeting they have every year. But I genuinely believe if they're not looking at these results and suggesting that we need to be looking for some recourse and some plan of action in order to prevent this poor run of form carrying into next season. And predominantly, if you look through history, most teams that finish the season in a poor run of form start the next season in a poor run of form. And I don't believe Newcastle can afford to be in September, October, start of November and not hitting the heights. And I know everybody realistically says Eddie Howe, he was in charge of so much over that. Or the people that want Eddie Howe to stay give every excuse under the sun as to why he hasn't been given the backroom staff. He hasn't been given the backing by the club. We've spent that much money to see 10, 11, 12 performances. To see 10, 11, 12 performances this season that are subpar in a row is outrageous. I Rumple in the chat. Yeah, great goal from Isak this weekend. It was, great goal. His second one of the season. Fantastic return for 135 million. I couldn't be happier for him. On that note as well, I genuinely believe his time will come. He'll probably come back to being a decent striker, but he looks way off it. Back to Newcastle. The biggest thing for this summer is keeping the key players. And I think Bruno is probably the most realistic asset that we need to hang on to. With regards to selling players, I think your Anthony Gordons could be gone to the likes of your Liverpools or Bayern Munich or whoever will have him. I'm quite happy to ship Anthony Gordon out. I think Newcastle realistically need to look at this striker situation and decide whether they are going to pin their money on Wissa or whether to cut their losses early and just get shot of him. Will Asula, I think, needs to move away alone somewhere. Nick Voltemada, I would like us to keep. I would like us to change system. I would like him to play under another manager. Whether that will happen realistically, you just don't know. I would say this midfield, there are players in there. Joe Willock needs to be away. I think this defensive lineup, Lewis Hall, it worries me Lewis Hall being dropped today. And most of all because of the mutterings coming out of the club regarding Tino Livramento. Now, Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento are thick as thieves. These two kids grew up together. They've played football together at different clubs. Realistically, they are best mates. And there is always an element of if you upset one, you may upset the other. And realistically, dropping Lewis Hall today or not even bringing him on, I felt was like a real mistake from Eddie. And I felt there were moments in the game. It always seems when we play Dan Burn left back, Dan Burn becomes this marauding left fullback that ends up spending more time in the middle third or the final third than he does actually defending. And that might be Eddie Howe's tactic of offering us something in the air. But when you've got no one to knock it down to, when you've got no one running in behind, and when you've got a predictably static front line, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So, like I say, hopefully, guys, the next run of games, we've obviously got Brighton coming up, then Bournemouth. Brighton, then Forest, I think it is, then West Ham, and finishing with Fulham. And realistically, this is why I put the thumbnail as Newcastle need to be looking down, not up. Every team below us, Leeds, Forest, West Ham, Tottenham, they're all getting results. They're all getting points. And Newcastle realistically should be worrying more about picking something up before the end of the season to secure our place. I'm not saying we've got a chance. There is a chance. I'm not saying it's a realistic chance that we would be relegated, but I definitely think Newcastle need to pull something out of the bag to lift this team spirit, lift this morale before the end of the season. But like I say, give this video a like, give it a sub if you're not already a subscriber. And hopefully, guys, I will see you in the next one.